Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. Heidi Smith. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in South Warwickshire in the United Kingdom, in a lovely part of the world. And the sun is shining outside, but I really needed to crack on with some of these projects. So today is a Sweet as a Peach project using the lovely Sweet as a Peach stamp set and coordinating dies, which have these lovely flowers and peach images, and along with lots of sentiments. Always a favourite with me, something with a sentiment. And I'm also using the lovely paper in the suite, the Euro Peach, a lovely peach images, and on the one side larger images, and then a smaller, more detailed image on the back. Beautiful florals, stripes in balmy blue, pear pizzazz and old olive in there, a bit of calypso coral, running through to sort of mango melody and bumblebee yellow. You can see here just those yellow tones coming through. And then we've got, say, the blue and petal pink coming through as well there, along with these deeper calypso coral tones. Again, pear pizzazz going through to kind of old olive, and then finally all of those colours kind of combining together. So those are 12 by 12 sheets, 2 each of 6 designs in your pack. And this is today's project. So I'm using the layering circles, just a real staple in my crafting set, and just to really, want to make the most of the DSP and these lovely peachy images, and then just using up some of my scraps. I do keep all my scraps in different colour piles, and so this is a great way to use some of those up. And then I've just stamped the peach image on the inside as well, just to make it a little bit different. So I'm going to do something similar, but use one of the other papers. I'm going to keep the blue stripes. I think those are really clean looking, but I'm going to use some different pattern paper for the accent one, and we're going to do some peachy stamping as well. So when I was playing around with this set, I came up with lots of different combinations. So I thought this time, whereas this one is very much more the pink tone, so I've used pale papaya and calypso coral. On this one I thought I'd use pale papaya but with pumpkin pie to give a slightly more orangey sort of tone on that. And to create our image, really easy. Pop your stamping pierce mat on. That's the best way to get the most out of these distinctive images, particularly with photopolymer, because it's obviously textured. Ink it up well with the pale papaya, a very pale ink, so you do need to kind of do a real good tap tap tap. Then grab a sponge dauber, and I've got one for each of my colours, but one that's your orange toned one. Pick up some pumpkin pie on that, not too much, but just gently kind of daub around the edge, and then stamp your image, and you'll see you get those lovely stuff orange tones coming through. And then do this, you can then stamp your leaf image in pear pizzazz. Pop that, and you want to do 2 each of those. So you want 2 leaves and 2 peaches, and then just pop your dies on those. So I use a bit of post-it tape or a bit of post-it to hold mine in place. Low tack tape if you've got it. Just make sure you can't see any white. Add your tape once it's in place, and the same for this. And these, all of the dies in this die set fit in the mini cut and emboss, so that's what I'm going to use for those. Okay, so then you'll have 2 peaches, 2 leaves, and we're ready to go. Okay, so the card itself is a very simple card, but just using lots of layers. So my card base is 14.5 by 21, scored at 10.5, 10.5 centimetres that is, 5 3/4 by 8 1/4, scored at 4 1/8 to create our card base. I've then cut a piece of Whisper White for the inside, and that is 14 by 10 centimetres, so 4 by 5 7/8. And I'm just going to show you stamping using the same technique. So ink up your stamp for your leaves, just in pear pizzazz. At least I hope it is pear pizzazz, that's good. And then what I'm going to do is actually use the flower image. And what I've done on my flower image is I've actually just put a little arrow so that I always know that that goes up to the top of the sprig. I'm going to ink that up in pale papaya again, and then just come in with my pumpkin pie just in the centre of each of those. And then when you line it up, you'll see the little stuff, these little bits here line up with the gaps on the flowers. You see, those go in there. And then I'm just going to use my pumpkin pie. As you can see, I don't use pumpkin pie very often. I'm still on my old, this is the last of my old style ink pads. There we go. I have moved most of them over, but not quite. Pumpkin pie is kind of, because it's a colour I don't normally use very much, it's always sort of kind of gone to the bottom of my time to order list. So once we've done that, add some glue to the back of our inner layer. And I do this when I've used a coloured card base. Just gives you a really nice surface and adds a bit of extra detail in there. So on the front, I've got a piece of I've got a piece of paper. So I've got a piece of the DSP, and the DSP it's 8.5 centimetres by 14.5. So I just need to trim that down because I haven't already. So I take my 14.5. Make sure that's 8.5 it is. And that's just going to go across the centre of my card. It was very tempting to use the other side. I love this side of the paper, but I do like those blue stripes. So with this paper, I think the only pattern I'm not keen on is this little peaches on the reverse of one of the patterns. Not so keen on that one. But all the other papers I absolutely love. So there's our lovely blue layer, and then I've literally just, you can see, just got some scraps of card, and all I'm going to do with those is just take my snips and cut off at sort of about 45 degrees. So just cutting the corner off on each of those. And those are going to create my sort of layers. So as you can see, I've deliberately kept this middle one, the white one, a bit wider, because that gives me a good foundation to layer my card onto. So I'm just adding the glue, oh, you might not be able to see actually, glue to the bottom edge of each of my strips, coming along around about 7 or 8 centimetres, I suppose, 3 inches. And just try and make sure that my gapping is okay on those, and just snip those off. So now I've got just a plain circle there, and that's about 6 centimetres across. That's my other end. And then I've got one of our die cuts from the Stitch So Sweetly, and it's just a lovely little double flag. And I thought I might actually just come in with the pumpkin pie ink there and stamp that. Yep. That just adds another element of colour to it. Now the next layer, I thought I'd go with a bit of Pear Pizzazz to layer it up. I've gone for these lovely blue floral sprigs, and they're on the sort of a Pear Pizzazz stem, so I thought that would work well. And those are all about 11 by 6 centimetres, so 10.5 by 5.5. So in inches that is 4 1/4 by 2.5. So then the paper is 2.25 by about 4 inches. So this just gives you some approximate measurements. But the beauty of this sort of card is you can really layer it up in whatever way suits you, or might suit the scrap that you happen to have. I generally kind of, with these, try and take it down. So, for example, if I try and leave an even gap. So if I've taken it down in width by 3.5 centimetres, I try and take it down by the same amount either side. But then I look at it and see whether it works for me, and just adjust accordingly. So it's more, you know, it's not. It's just kind of trying to get something that looks pleasing to the eye. And obviously with this one, because it's going in the middle, but it's going to have other layers on as well, gives us a little bit of room for manoeuvre. So once I've done my layering, I'm going to add this to the centre of the card. So just to set that in the middle of my DSP, as you can see there. And then I'm going to add my layers. And I'm actually going to pop those, on this occasion, I'm going to pop those flat actually. Okay, which will enable me to pop some extra dimensionals onto the back of my circular layer. And I'm leaving the sentiment until the end so that I can just make sure that that's lined up with the edge, not overhanging the edge, so that I can make sure that it's not covered up by my peaches. So here are my peaches. So my peaches, you know me, I do like to add a bit of dimension, not necessarily keep things flat. So just shaping these peaches. Like so. And then again, an opportunity to come in with a couple of dimensionals on the back of one. And the other one I will be popping sort of flatter on there. So if I pop this one like so, you'll see it's curving and it's actually touching that background. So it's got a nice shape to it. And then all I need to do then is add a tiny bit of glue to the bottom of both of these. And that's going to go on the bottom. And I'll add a mini dimensional to the top of the one set of leaves so that it's supported. So if I add my one on here, because that's going to be glued straight onto the top of the peach. But my second one is going to have a little dimensional at the back. So where it glues onto the peach, it's also, because it's onto the white, it's going to be supported by that as well. And so all that's left to do then is add some mini dimensionals along the length of this die cut. And I can pop that on the top there. So there we have a lovely layered card. Stripes or flowers, whichever's your preference. I rather like the second one, adding with a bit of green makes it stand out. Anyway, I hope you enjoy making it too. Don't forget to pop along to my blog, and if you choose me as a demonstrator, I'll be very grateful. Please do hit the subscribe button so you get told about when I next do a video. Thanks for watching. Bye now.